Right. So what we wanted to do is just give everyone a bit of an understanding into the Microsoft recruitment market at the moment. I think we've been having plenty of conversations, some of our amazing kind of candidates and clients over the past few weeks, and we're receiving a lot of the same questions. So what we wanted to do here is just give you all an opportunity to ask us questions that we could answer for you and put your mind at rest, and hopefully give you some actions coming into the next few weeks of lockdown. Feel free to ask questions outside of the dreaded coronavirus as well. I brought 3 people with me, so if we could start with some introductions, that would be amazing. If we could start with you, please, Anila.
Sure. Hi, I'm Anila. I head up our D365 division for the US, and that's about it.
Hi everyone, I'm David, and I run the D365 CE teams here, so as more commonly known CRM, helping grow our contractor base, supply end users and consultancies alike.
Hello everybody, John Keane, CEO of Cognitive. Good afternoon, people joining from the UK and Europe, and I suppose good morning to people waking up in the US.
Perfect. So, apologies for the delay here, guys. I'm just trying to access your questions. If we can't access any questions, then we will kind of run via our own thoughts here. So, could we just start with yourself, John, if possible, and how the market has basically changed since lockdown?
Yeah, sure. I think it's an understatement to say CXOs have been tentative during April, during lockdown, as we wait announcements for the resumption of economic activity. The knock-on effect of that has been, I would estimate, an 80% reduction in permanent hiring. Permanent interviewing has continued, but making that final decision on an offer and a start date as where that 80% reduction is seen. On the contract side, freelance and independent market, probably about a 60% reduction in new job flow. And the flow through for that into the staffing industry, I think you just have to look at LinkedIn, the amount of jobs posted to see it's been very quiet. Having said that, we've still managed to place people in the US, UK, and Germany. Interestingly enough, Germany has seen no drop in demand, and that may be down to 2 reasons. One, they've handled the coronavirus very well. Infection and death rates been incredibly low. And so the optimism around coming out of this is probably higher. And then notice periods in Germany tend to be longer, so you've got to think, more than a few weeks ahead. And I think the 2 trends to come out of this, Josh, is that IT spending has continued wherever it's to do with minimizing the business disruption caused by COVID. And then we're seeing spending continue for any projects related to digital innovation, where previously you could ask a CXO what their 1 to 3 year digital innovation plan was. They would now say that's not a 3-year horizon, that's right now. Yeah. So looking into maybe May and June, I'm optimistic that just from the last week's activities, and I'm sure David and Neela will probably add to this from their own experience, but we're starting to see clients come back to the market. And so I'm cautiously optimistic that provided we've got a clear pathway for lockdown to be lifted in some of the US states we're working in, and here in the UK, I'll be confident that IT would be the first one to rebound.
Fantastic. Don't know if you got any thoughts on that, Dave? At all?
Yeah, I think yeah, we're definitely going to see bounce back in terms of the economy and recruitment, and I think Q3 is what we all look to for companies kind of braving the storm and getting back to work and pushing projects ahead. From personal experience, I've actually seen one customer that did slow down recruitment and stop and put their projects on hold in the D365 space in the education sector, but they came back last week because they see the economy is going to return to normal. So they're looking to start up that project again. And I think we're going to see that much more from various customers in quite a few different sectors. If we look at Central Gov, they're still going ahead with quite key projects, hiring. And yeah, just going back to the education, they've kind of moved their model to online learning. So we're seeing the investment of work productivity, Office 365 and MS Teams increase. And I can imagine that when they have, education companies that might have not bought Office 365 licenses will buy them now, and increasing their digital initiatives instead of waiting a few years' time, because we've realized the impact of having to have a remote workforce. So we'll see probably a lot more of those type of roles come into the market. I think, Josh, you've experienced that yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Seen a bit of a change in actually the talent that's needed. I think where we've maybe had a lot of success placing Dynamics professionals, as an example, maybe their projects have continued to go, but there's been a slight pause on the projects that have started. When it's come to Microsoft Azure, programs have been focused more on DevOps and actually cost reduction and making sure that, for example, virtual machines are turned off when they don't need to be on, and basically cost reduction. So anyone that's been good in that space, saving a company money, minimizing risk, future-proofing a business, maybe creating a new target operating model, those people have been actually quite sought after. Bit of a change as well, where historically the preference has maybe been to hire permanent people, as typically across the year they may be a little bit cheaper. Whereas now we're seeing that actually they would like the flexible workforce. They would like to get somebody in maybe on a contract basis over the next few months, just to give them that flexibility. So a little bit of a shift towards contract recruitment, which has obviously been good for my network specifically. But I think we're now actually seeing the start of almost the other side. I mean, there was some hesitation, just everyone had almost pressed the pause button and just said, hey, look, just give us a few weeks, let us get some clarity and kind of see where we want to go from now. And now actually I'm starting to have some conversations around planning for Q3 and Q4. So yeah, definitely. What about yourself, Anila, in the US?
I think there was definitely an immediate pause. Anytime you have a situation like this, whether it's political, health crisis, whatever, people their reaction is to go stop, halt everything, and let's regroup. I'll be honest, I did think the pause would go longer, but as I've talked to more people, I see it coming at the other side. And it definitely seems like people who had large scale projects going on, who may have paused it for, say, 4, 5, 6 weeks, are now very much back in the saddle. So not all industries, but definitely see more light at the end of the tunnel sooner than expected.
Definitely. Can I just ask anybody that's viewing this now, the 10 to 12 people that are viewing this, if you can hear us, just pop us like a thumbs up or some kind of emoji, or even a question or a comment, or just some kind of interaction, just to make sure that you guys can hear us now. That'd be great. So Dave, I mean, in terms of the next stage of hiring, I mean, are you actually seeing with your customers, as the top performer within Cognitive Group, are you seeing that people are recruiting for now or for Q3, or how's the kind of hiring strategy going at the moment?
So I think it depends from company to company. It's not just a simple sector. So from what I'm seeing some companies that are hiring now. We've got experience within the group that we have one consultancy that's heavily hiring and investing for the future. We work with a company in finance that are also still hiring because they still want to push those objectives ahead. And education seems, I'm going to stress the education point, because it seems like none of those projects are slowing down. Contractors getting extended, projects being, they've already got the budget, students have already paid the fees, and also government subsidise each student they have. So they've got a lot of money in the bank to carry on these technology and transformation initiatives. And yeah, we're seeing a few individual customers bucking the trend. We're seeing like some retailers that or even in the clothing space, pushing ahead with FinOps programs. But obviously that's kind of a unique case. Sainsbury's and the likes of Asda, you'll see them still hiring on technological initiatives. And we're seeing from our network people getting jobs with the likes of those big players. I think, yeah, it really depends on company by company basis, really, for the hiring. But I think we'll see some normalcy across the different sectors in Q3, where people have to really invest in staff and projects going forward, or else they might not actually survive until 2021.
Yeah. What are you seeing in the US, Anila?
In terms of people moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, the hiring strategies at the moment, are you seeing companies hiring now, or are they waiting for Q3, or are they actually planning in advance?
Yeah, so that's a tricky one. It really does vary industry to industry. For instance, Houston's a huge market that I've worked on for a really long time, and it's, you know, all oil and gas. That's just a non-starter at the moment. Whereas you have certain healthcare and pharma companies that I work with. I know it's a really obvious thing to say, but they're snatching people up that are coming out of other industries and cross-training them, because from a technical or functional standpoint, that they have that experience. But with a lot of my, say, F&O guys, AX guys, and gals, they really like to stay within one particular vertical because they're experts at it. This is a really unique time in the market where companies are actively looking to hire people and cross-train across verticals and industries. So I think a lot of that is happening. I've seen, weirdly enough, some industries that you would never link together, hiring managers saying, yeah, do you know if those guys have let any of their people go? Because we really like to take them on. So I think you'll see a big uptake, I would say, in the next 4 weeks. I've had some clients come back who put pause on restarting, but I've had new clients actively say, I'd be interested in headhunting from this said industry. That's
Anila, over in the US, are you seeing any effect on salaries and day rates as a result of what's happening at the moment?
I have not. That I got from quite a few candidates who have never worked from home, or if they have on a very limited or short-term basis, saying, will my salary, do you think, be affected as I look for a new job or laid off and looking for something else? I have not seen that trend at all, and I've not had any clients say that they're not willing to pay it. If people have it in their budget to hire, they know the worth of the candidates they're hiring, and they're not cutting small corners. So no, I've not seen that as a trend. I don't know if anybody on that.
No, I think that's good news. I've seen a little bit of flexibility from contractors, almost knowing that they would like to get into work at the moment. So maybe I may be able to take £100 less on my day rate, for example. But I've not actually seen clients saying, due to the current situation, we would like to pay less. The budgets are exactly the same. So I've not seen prices for contractors or salaries go down at all. And I think as far as salaries are concerned, employers know that we're going to be out of this soon. Hopefully, let's say this year, and you're not just hiring somebody for the here and now, you're hiring somebody on a permanent basis, basically for the next few years. So they know that salary needs to be relevant almost. So yeah, I've not seen any change really, to be honest.
Yeah. And to add to that, Josh, we've had a number of new roles come to market, and in none of those briefing conversations has the hirer said, could we get this person for less than what we had originally thought? That hasn't even entered into the mind. And if you look at why that would be possibly a bad decision if someone did come to market with a reduced role, is the individuals that are in role now would be at the market rate. So I think trying to move people in this market for something below market rate would probably hamper the quality of the candidate pool available to them.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds good. I think it was yourself, Anila. Actually, you're saying that this is basically the largest working from home experiment in world history, isn't it? So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how this pans out afterwards.
Well, Sorry, I was just going to say one quick thing is it forces some companies that maybe didn't have or weren't equipped to let certain divisions work from home realize how stagnant they are as a business and how limited they are in case something like this were to happen. A lot of businesses mitigate that risk by having plans in action, and for the companies that don't, for companies who still have their servers all in one place in their office and you can't get there, I mean, you're in a lot of trouble because it's not just one part of your business that won't function, it's all of it. I had actually a candidate say that to me yesterday, really great, CRM candidate who hopefully is watching this right now, but he that and he said, cloud transformation is just a word he said over and over again. And it's a real buzzword, but it forces people to really think. So.
Yeah, that sounds good. So, I mean, what guidance and advice could we offer at the moment? I mean, it'd be good to start with yourself on that, Anila, with you being based in the US.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of ways to look at it, and it's really individual to the situation that particular person is in, what kind of company they work at, and if they are in a position where their job might be at risk. But for the people who are just nervous but still have jobs, I would say have faith, because I've made placements in this lockdown. Or kind of staying at home, shelter in place situation. I've had clients come to me, consulting companies who you would usually think would be potentially at most risk of cutting their staff, or anybody who's on the bench, say, hey, no, our CRM projects are still going forward. If anything, we need to hire more. And some companies who are seeing the benefit to find that talent that are out and now looking on the market. A lot of these candidates are so busy during the rest of the year and regular times that they don't have time to explore new opportunities, see if they're being paid well, brush up their CVs. And this is a really, I would say, unique opportunity for all of us. I mean, all of us who might not have the time to look at their careers and go, hey, maybe I'll reach out to that recruiter and find out what's going on. Or, hey, maybe I'll do some brushing up on my interview skills or my resume or things like that. So, that was a long-winded answer, but what I mean is, I just went off on a tangent there, but what I mean to say is the market is not as stale and stagnant as one would expect. There are gems out there. You will see them and you will do yourself a disservice by not looking into them now, because they won't always be there and so available.
Definitely. What advice are you giving to your clients and candidates at the moment, Dave?
So the advice I would give to candidates who are probably not in a role or maybe on the bench is look at the upskilling that's available to them around business apps, or whether that be Azure or Power Apps, which is obviously going to take a front seat in this market going forward. And yeah, we've got one of our consultants who's doing a webinar with Julian Sharp, who's an ex-Microsoft MVP, where they can talk, anyone who's looking right now to this video, we're going to share a link that's going to happen next week, and they'll talk everyone through the MS learning paths in every single aspect of Microsoft. So that'd be really key for you to learn what resources you should look into and how to upskill yourself. And if you want to go for accreditations, the options there. But also be a bit more proactive yourselves in your search. Other than looking at us recruiters, maybe just be more proactive in terms of looking at the job boards, see what's on LinkedIn, and start networking yourselves with people in your space, because you don't know what could come from an in-mail on LinkedIn or just reaching out to someone. We've seen people in this market who's popped on a virtual session which the MVPs hold and get a job from it.
Definitely. Sam's just popped that link in the comment as well, so if anyone can find that, that'd be great.
Great. And just to add to Dave's point, if you're an employer and you've got two candidates in front of you, and both with similar skills, similar costs, one of which during this time has managed to get an accreditation and the other not, who are you likely to go for? And so if you're not working at the moment, what advice could we offer you? And that's to upskill, upskill, upskill. If the next question was, what are the technologies that we're seeing grow, the demand for grow? Definitely, there's a theme that Teams has been very busy during COVID, but I'm not sure about that demand hereafter. Before the crisis, during, and confident after, Power Apps has seen a massive surge in demand. And by our reckoning, it's grown by 257%, according to people adding those skills on LinkedIn. So if you were going to come out of this with a new accreditation, certainly, if you're in the D365 space, F&O seems to be the most impacted. CE projects, customer engagement projects, where rapid time to value, they seem to have held up pretty well. So maybe if you're in F&O and you have been benched, this might be a great time to move over to CE. And if you can involve yourself in Power Apps, there seems to be a lot of pent-up demand across the partner ecosystem, either spinning up practices, have spin up practices, and are in pre-sales mode. So by our reckoning, by conversations, it feels like that market's going to be particularly busy. So overall, is if you come out of this with one extra badge, I think you'd be doing very well.
Yeah, I mean, the Power Apps market is absolutely crazy. I mean, there's around 2,000 people in the UK at the moment that are certified in Power Apps, and I think that's grown by around 200% in the last year. I know from some of my contacts at Microsoft that that's a huge kind of focus point, as that's where they see the general kind of industry going. Microsoft Teams has obviously boomed over the last few months. And I mean, I've actually made some great kind of UC connections in the last few months. But as you say, when we return to work, how much will there be there? I think that's generally the way that the market is going over the next couple of years. But obviously, especially there's a boom now. I think the most important thing is you've got to be proactive during this period. There will be a lot of people that will be sitting back and just saying, hey, look, nothing's going to happen over the next couple of months. So let me just sit back, watch some Netflix and wait for this to blow over. But this is the perfect time to be networking, introducing yourself to new recruiters, new hiring managers, new organizations, working on your own marketing documents, really kind of understanding where your USP is, becoming certified. You've got to be proactive around the kind of networking piece and actually ensuring that from the outside that you look like a professional business as well. So I would also add to that by saying the proactivity is the big point. And I think also for any infrastructure consultants, project managers, etc., that have always thought about maybe moving into the Azure market. I mean, again, there's almost like 45,000 people in the UK that are now Azure certified, but that's nowhere near the amount that's needed for the future of cloud. And almost what we're seeing is some of the partners hiring from each other, and really what we want to see is that kind of market growing. So I mean, the market already has grown by nearly 60% in the last year. So that is definitely a space that you want to be getting into. And I mean, there's plenty of courses and stuff on the Microsoft website that you can attend, and obviously Sam Smith's and Julian Sharp's webinar that they're going to be holding next week. So I think that was really helpful, guys. But one of the questions I'm often asked is, would I be more successful applying to companies directly? I think that's an interesting one. I mean, I've been asked that. The reason I mentioned I've been asked that twice this week. I think that proactivity, again, you've got to make sure that you've got your own network, anyone that you've worked with previously, anyone you've interviewed with previously, any recruiters you know already, any job opportunities you actually apply to. Make sure that you track them, maybe in some kind of spreadsheet or piece of paper or whatever, and actually follow up. The follow up is the most important thing. But I think it's important to note that neither is better. From a consultant, you've got their kind of undivided attention where they'll be focusing on it, well, the good people will anyway. And then you've got from a hiring perspective, they will just be looking to fill that one job, but building relationships with recruiters, you'll be able to access multiple jobs. I know Nicole, I don't know if you're watching this, but she messaged me this morning saying that she just posted a job on LinkedIn last night, and she now says that she empathizes with recruiters. She said she was just getting hundreds of responses. So she said, I don't know how you do it. So I thought that was quite funny. But I mean, is there any? Have you guys got any thoughts on that? I mean, I don't know, Anila. Like in the US market, is it very dominated by recruiters, or is there a lot of direct applications that go out? And how does that kind of world work?
I think there's a mix of both. I think there's definitely less recruiters, and it is a less saturated market on that front. But stepping away from that, any way you're going to get a job, if I was on the market for a job, I would go through all avenues. I think there is something to be said to if you apply for a job directly and you get it, amazing. For me personally, some of the roles that I've looked at, I felt like get better results if you work with a recruiter or an agency who has a special relationship to that client. They'll be able to give you more information, have you more prepped if you work with the right person. But that's not to say that you absolutely couldn't get a job by applying to that company directly. So I think both options are fine. I know I'm supposed to say, oh, you should only go through a recruiter. I don't believe that to be true. I think there's multiple ways. I think networking is incredibly important. Referrals are incredibly important, but a referral can come whether it's through somebody who works at the company, or a referral can come to a great recruiter who can introduce you to the right business and give you a bit more hand-holding through that interview process. There's nothing worse than as a candidate to apply to a business, feel like you're right, and somehow your resume slips through the cracks of talent acquisition, internal or HR, or gets misplaced, and there's no other way to bring that back up. So sometimes going through a recruiter can, it gives you the added value of knowing that somebody's going to chase up and follow up your resume on your behalf. So those are just my thoughts on it. So either way, it can work really well.
Yeah, definitely. I think some people could benefit of just maybe our advice of how to actually market yourself as a contractor. I don't know if you've got any views on that, John.
Yeah, I think the last few years we've definitely seen LinkedIn come to the fore, and employers and project leaders been more than willing to interview somebody on the basis of their LinkedIn profile. And so other than updating your CV and uploading your CV to job boards and watching for job ads, our advice would probably be to treat LinkedIn as if it is your CV, because the way in which an internal talent specialist would search is no different from the way that recruiters search on LinkedIn. They'll look for people that are open to opportunities. So if you are currently looking, make sure you've clicked in your settings that you're open to opportunities, because naturally internal talents and recruiters will go to those individuals first that are seemingly looking, and then maybe bulk out your CV with some of the keywords that people might search on. Or maybe better advice would be to the job that you want to do next, make sure those are the keywords that are emphasized, so people are searching and contacting you about those. And it seems simple, but doing just that, maybe putting in your title, open to opportunities. So title, open to opportunities as well. All of that means that the next role can possibly come to you, other than proactively following up the relationships that you've got yourself. And I think, just to add to what Anila was saying a second ago, if you've got a good relationship with somebody in an organization you want to work for, why wouldn't you leverage that? Why wouldn't you contact that person and ask what is the current needs there, and would you mind acting as a reference for me, and who is the hiring contact? If you haven't got a relationship in an organization, then my suggestion, don't rely on that as your means in, because so often it's the relationship that helps to drive the result. Dave, I don't know have you got a view on that?
What, in terms of the relationship piece?
Yeah.
Or I think if you have a relationship, always go that as the first avenue. But if you don't, then sometimes when you apply direct to a company, depending on what role it is, or how kind of in demand that skill is, and it can really depend on whether you get feedback or not. And going back to what Anila said, you should work every avenue. But if you get a good perception of your work, a recruiter approaches you about a role, and they've placed people there before, that's usually a better route than going direct, I would say. That's
I think also a lot of contractors especially will put a lot of effort into their CV. Some CVs look absolutely fantastic that I see. And also that, you know, with CVs, there's not necessarily like a one size fits all. They all can be great depending on who's looking at it, and people have got different opinions. But I think people have to realize that LinkedIn is effectively your public CV. It is your website. To give you a bit of insight into how recruiters find people, I think that 90% of recruiters now use LinkedIn as their main job board. They will use keywords, so they will look for job titles. So really with job titles, you want to be making sure that they're kind of industry standard. If you were the project leader, call yourself the project manager, make sure you've got them almost quite generic. So that people can find you. Then they'll be using your skills and your to basically search for you. So in your skills section, you need to be making sure, if you specialize in Microsoft Teams, put Microsoft Teams in there, because they will use that in Boolean searches basically to find you. Make sure that your bio is full of loads of those keywords. So keep it sharp. Make sure that people can easily digest the information you've got on your LinkedIn profile, but make sure all of the things that you want to be known for are included in there. And there's the other point as well on that, actually, is making sure that you're explaining your value add. I think typically a lot of people will post and say, hey, like I'm ready for a new role now, I'm looking for something, you know, I'm itching at the bit to kind of get started. But try to avoid that and try to maybe post and say, hey, look, I'm available now and this is where I could add value. This is what I've done in the past that's really helped people. This is how much money I've saved. These are the projects I've delivered. And really just, like I say, talk about the things that you want to be known for. So I don't know if we've got anything else to add on that point there.
I think it was well covered.
No.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say I think we're pretty well covered on it. Value proposition and make it known that you're looking. A lot of people sometimes will sit there and go, no one reaches out to me. I'm looking for a job. No one calls. Well, you're not listed as open to new opportunities. So, you know, help us help you is really what I think we're trying to say.
We'll wrap this up now, guys, if that's okay with you. If anybody has any questions after this, you'll be watching this on LinkedIn. Please feel free to drop them in the comments. Either myself, Anila, Dave, or John will answer it for you. And we will be back again soon, I'm sure.
Cool.
Thanks for inviting us, Josh.
Thanks
Cheers,
so
guys.
much.